Hi, this is Dell, your communication specialist in the areas of public speaking, authorship, and personal branding. This time of year, around Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, what are we thinking about? Going home. We all want to be home. Even though sometimes home might be a stressful place to be, we still want to be home. There is something that is so comforting about being home. Even when it makes us crazy, we still want to be at home. Today, I have a special guest by the name of Stephanie Williams, who is the author of the book, It's Time to Come Home 21 Thoughts on Being at Home with Peace, Being at Home at Peace with Yourself. It's an awesome book. You really need to read this, but I'm going to let Stephanie tell you a little bit about herself and about the book because Stephanie is going to give us some more insight on the whole concept of being at home because it goes beyond just your physical address or where you hang your hat. It's so much more than that. So I'm going to let Stephanie talk about that. But before we dive into that conversation, I want to give her the opportunity to introduce herself and just give us a real teeny weeny peek into her book. All right, Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so delighted to be here with you today. Just wanted to share a little information and background about myself. I'm Stephanie Williams, 20 years in social services, working with families in need with a focus on housing. So when we talk about it's time to come home, we're not just talking about the physical home, we're
Mhm.
talking about so much more. But I've worked 20 years, yeah, and I'm dating myself a little bit, but 20 years working with families that we would work with to try to get them into housing. So that's why this book is so important and passionate to me. We're going to talk about self-worth, we're going to talk about self-acceptance, and we're going to talk about peace, which if you think about that, all of those, when you weave them together and you work them in together, they are so comforting. So thank you for having me, Dale.
All right, my pleasure. And I think after people hear your story and just more about what you have to say, it's going to be their pleasure as well. All right, so let's just go ahead and dive right into it. Now, I'm going to keep my questions handy so I'm not making up strange things. So I'm going to just try to kind of read them. All right, so the first one has to do with the title itself. It's time to come home. So, what's the big deal on that? And why is this an issue? So I'm kind of asking you a complex question, a number of questions at the same time. But first of all, I guess, what do you mean by coming home? Because I know it's more than that physical address. So what are you talking about? What do you want your reader to understand about coming home? What does that mean?
So when we talk about really going back to the intro and we talk about coming home, we're focusing a lot about just self-acceptance and self-worth. First, we have to know who we are as believers, as just human beings, just knowing what your rights are as humans and
Mhm.
just knowing that you are worthy. And so when you talk about it's time to come home, we're focusing a lot on just your self-worth. You know, sometimes it goes back to childhood and just not having that positive role model or figure in your home speaking life into you. And so what happens? We grow up as adults and we don't really know our worth. So guess what? Society and others tell us what we're worth.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's kind of scary. When
Yes,
society starts telling you what you're worth, they're probably not going to come up with the right answer. I mean, they're
absolutely.
really not because when you think about it, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too this, you're too that, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too pick of something. Society's always got
Yes.
something crazy to say about your self-worth.
hmm
And that whole idea of being at home in your own skin, you know
Absolutely.
being okay with you. the shape of your nose or the shape of your
Yes.
hips, the shape of your lips. So
Yes.
whatever it is about you that society might be telling you is not just picture perfect. And we
Right.
know it's not going to be picture perfect because most of those picture perfect people, they're photoshopped. I'm just saying,
Absolutely.
right? So,
That's it.
we can't meet that. I mean, come on now. The models in the magazine don't look like the models in the magazine.
Oh
So
no. Oh
how are
no.
we expecting ourselves to look like that? So we've got to learn to really be accepting of ourselves. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So during this time,
Mhm.
we're not able to really, or let's put it this way, when we're not able to be able to get out or to get home for whatever
Mhm.
reason,
Mhm.
in talking about your book,
Mhm.
because it's coming out, actually it is out now, this time during the holidays. Why was it such a big deal to get it out during the holidays? I mean, why didn't you just put it out just any old time? I mean, why does it matter about the holidays? What's the significance about the holidays?
Sure. So when you think about the holidays, one of the things that you think about is home, right? You think
Mhm.
about whether you're, locally able to get with your family, whether it's due to some type of crisis, some type of medical condition, or whatever, you're facing. You think about home.
Mhm.
And so for me, I thought that, okay, let's focus on the holidays because there are people around us. There are people that we all know from any walk of life that has experienced some type of trauma, whether it was affiliated with the holiday, whether it was affiliated with a family member. And so for me, I thought, okay, holidays can be pretty stressful. Now, we do want to feel connected, but during these times, right now, what's going on in the world, I think that it was important for me to get that message out because of so many individuals being
Mhm.
isolated and just
Mhm.
being, and feeling that they're just alone. And so why not take time to be proactive and just really do some self-worth,
Mhm.
some self-work
Mhm.
to deal with self-acceptance and deal with your self-worth.
Mhm. Absolutely. It's the perfect time for it. Okay, so let's say that you do manage to get home, I mean, to that physical house.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say that you are with friends or you're with family, both, however that works. But there's always that really special aunt or
Oh yeah.
cousin, or it might even be your mama, whoever
Right. Right.
that is always going to be on your case about something dumb. I mean,
Right.
about
Right.
something that just doesn't matter. When are you
Right.
going to get married? Why don't you have a boyfriend? Did you break up with him again? What did you do wrong to make him really? When are you going to lose weight? When are you going to gain some weight? Why are you wearing
Right.
that dress? That's not your color. Ugh. I
Right.
mean, every time they see you, they've got some kind of negative nonsense that they want to just dump
Mm-hmm.
on you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about navigating through that without, feeling as though you want to punch their lights out, or feeling as though I just want to eat. Let me just keep eating some more so I can feel a little bit better about what this person is saying. So, what are some things that you can do to help you feel more comfortable in your own skin and not even deal with what this nonsense that this person is spewing out?
Okay. So I have two answers for that.
Okay.
So I have a short answer and then I kind of want to go into a little bit more detail.
Mhm.
So just briefly, I will say in chapter 2 of the book, we talk about being at home with your emotions. And
Mm.
so we also kind of, go in depth about those toxic relationships.
Mm.
And sometimes those relationships are family or with family members. I will say
Mm.
it like that, and not to, call anyone out. But that's a reality. So some of us are dealing with those family members, and they would actually be a toxic relationship. And so in the book, you have an actual worksheet where you're going to actually take time to evaluate those relationships. So let me just say that. So as far as with the book, so once you've done it, so get the book, okay? And then secondly, after that, just for someone that's just listening in on this call, I would say self-awareness. So being intentional, being very intentional, and it's okay. It doesn't matter if it's your mother who's always negative or cynical. You know, the reality is you have to be self-aware enough to know and to say, you know what, I don't expect any more from Aunt Betty. I don't expect any more from Aunt Sheila. And for you to be intentional and be self-aware to say, okay, when Aunt Sheila walks in the room, then I'm going to breathe. I'm going to take 10 deep breaths, and I may have to walk away, and you be okay with that. And it's okay. You don't have to subject yourself or put yourself in an environment that's toxic for you, whether that's with family, or friends, or even a work environment. So number one, I would say breathe. But you have to start with just exploring and then doing that self-awareness and actually evaluating these relationships. Number one, just be here. Start with awareness. And after that, like I said, mapping out those relationships and then breathing in the event that you have to be in contact with somebody that, you know, it's coming with the wrong energy, although you know that this person has that energy. So let's start with there. So you have to be accountable for your feelings as well. So why would you want to subject yourself to always be, you know, in an environment where somebody is being abusive to you? Because that is a form of abuse, and you're putting yourself in that situation. So just walk away, and it's okay. That's how you stand up for yourself. You can walk away, even if it's for 5 minutes, you need to come back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And a lot of times, because it is the holiday, there is this food issue. And so many of us, you know, we struggle with weight. I mean, there's hardly a woman around who does not struggle with weight in some area. I mean,
Right.
in some cases, it may be more than others, but there's still that struggle. And when you're thinking about the holidays, well, that's the time that there's so much food, it's ridiculous. I mean, stuff that you may not eat all year long, but Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, it's like, boom, I'm eating it. And when we do encounter that toxic relationship, a lot of times our response is, could I have another piece of pie? You know, I mean, we just start stuffing more food in our faces because the food is so comforting. So I think that, you know, one of the things that we need to do, you know, and you were talking about being proactive. Yes, yes, yes. You know, assess that situation before you even walk in there.
Absolutely.
But to think about not letting food be the comfort, to maybe have something else to do, whether it's something to do with your hands, something, you know, even if you have a crossword puzzle, something or another that you can do that is not food related. So if you're in the process of trying to lose weight, or you're just trying to get healthy, you know, going to these events, it's very difficult to not overeat. And if, you know, that Aunt Betty, that, you know, whoever is going to be one of those triggers, it's bordering impossible. But it's not impossible, but it is very difficult. So yeah, you know, a little crossword puzzle, you know, something that you can do to take your mind off of what's going on. And you're not really going to be isolating yourself from everyone else, because even as you're doing this little puzzle, I mean, every now and then you can, you know, kind of look up and say, hey, you know, what's a 6-letter word for, you know, yada, 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 yada.
Absolutely.
And hopefully, you know, that will kind of bring in a positive conversation. And you can talk with them about that a little bit and then go right back to your little puzzle or,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is until, Aunt Susie kind of gets all of the craziness out of her. Because
Right.
sometimes, it's just like they have to come in and vent and dump. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, now I've
Mm-hmm.
dogged out everybody. So, whew, I
Mm-hmm.
feel all right now. I mean,
Right.
some people, they just function that way.
Right.
So you kind of have to work around that. So yeah, love the idea, absolutely assess the situation, be proactive. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay.
Yes.
Now, when you're talking about um, the things that make you feel uncomfortable in your own skin. Because,
Mm-hmm.
in the book, you're talking about it's time to come home. Well, it's not just home to your house, but
Right.
being home to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
feeling good about you and being able to accept you. But
Right.
I think that we struggle so much with many things. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
some people more than others. So, in your opinion, would you say that at some point in time we get to a place where, hey, we've overcome this and we no longer have to struggle with it and everything is fine? Or, I mean, just what are your thoughts on that?
So Dale, for me, in my opinion on that, I would say that that's something you have to manage daily.
Mm,
It's a you have to be strategic about it, but it's
mm,
something that you have to just own and say, you know what, I'm going to manage this thing daily.
mhm,
I think about deliverance, and I think that you can be delivered from things, but the reality is the negative chatter, it's real, and it comes. And so
mhm,
when you're talking about, am I light enough, am I dark enough, am I slim enough, am I
mhm,
smart enough, those kind of things that really come because of these emotional triggers. And sometimes it may be even in a work environment, so it may not
mhm,
even be related to family. It may just be in a work environment where
mhm,
you think that you've really done a great job, or you've maintained your whatever, and you have somebody else who wants to be an overachiever and wants to make you feel belittled or whatever.
mhm,
So again, that's a daily thing. So what I would say is, Matthew 6 to 9 is something that you can really meditate on as an individual, as I do. And I tell people often, even I had a conversation with my mom, and she was trying to overcome something, and she was talking about it, and I said, you know what, let's talk about your daily bread. Let's talk about what you need for today.
mhm,
Let's not borrow from tomorrow. Let's not rehash the past, but let's just talk about what you need for today. Let's
mhm,
talk about the positivity that needs to flow for today. So again, I think that, the first step would be, again, that self-awareness,
mhm,
and then you move into kind of self-acceptance. And once you accept it, it's like, okay, I'll take it on. I know for me, Dale, there are some things that I know I have to manage every day,
mhm,
and I'm okay with that.
mhm,
And with God's help, I know that I can overcome. But again, in the meantime, in between time, I have to manage it daily. So
yeah.
that's just my opinion. I think it's just just that daily bread, that daily walk.
Mhm. I agree with you 100%. It is something that it's got to be managed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like something that you can just check it off and
Check
say,
off,
okay,
right? It's not one of those items.
absolutely, absolutely. It is not that. Yeah, because it's going to come back up tomorrow and the next
Mm-hmm.
day and the next day.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to keep beating it down and say, no,
Right.
that's not true about me. Yeah,
Right.
so you absolutely have to manage that, and don't beat yourself up over it. Just keep working on that thing. So, yeah, I mean, it gets better. It definitely
Mm-hmm.
does, but the fight is still there. So
Right.
even though we might win the war against, whatever that thing is,
Mm-hmm.
there are still those daily battles that we're going to have to deal with.
Right.
So yeah,
Right. And
absolutely.
that was the reason why I mentioned that was the reason why I mentioned something about the workplace, because,
Mm,
somebody may say, well, I can't really relate to the negative because everybody in my family is positive. Well, lucky you. But the
okay.
reality is there are people around us
Yeah.
that, do have individuals in our family that may not always be the most positive. And so maybe the emotional triggers that that person have are at work
Mhm.
or at church, or it could be anywhere. But
Yes.
the reality is,
Mhm.
just be aware of your emotional triggers and then be intentional about managing them.
Mhm. Yeah, and you just brought up a good point, about church. It could be
Mhm.
church
It could
as
be
well.
church.
And I totally
Mhm.
forgot about that. But yeah, that it happens there too. I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes it may be intentional, but a lot of
Right.
times, it's just people just don't know when to close their mouth. They
Mhm.
just let whatever, because it came in their head, so they just let it pop out their mouth. I'm like, you need to put a filter on your mouth. Stop that.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
yeah, they just don't think about the impact that what they said has
Mhm.
on somebody else. I mean,
Right.
yeah, think it
Right.
through before you open your mouth.
But then you wonder why nobody's wanting to assist or work in ministry in certain areas.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, but we can have a whole nother conversation about that, Dale.
that's just what I was going to say. You are so right on. Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. Because that actually goes into the workshop that I do on personal branding. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, which would kind of explains why you don't have any friends, sweetie. You know why?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So and kind of going back a little bit, when you mentioned about the self acceptance, I am going to just kind of segue a little bit into the workshop that we have coming up on the 22nd.
Yes.
And for those of you who are
Mm-hmm.
listening now, if you want to hear more from Stephanie, and I'm sure you do, yes, yes, come on, work
Yes.
with me, yes.
Yes.
We want to hear more from Stephanie. She's going to go and do more of a deep dive into talking about that self acceptance and the self worth and all of the things that are just kind of related around that. So we're still going to be talking about it's time to come home, but she's going to
Yes.
be focusing more on the self acceptance because
Yes.
the workshop that we're going to be doing is called Dine Well. That's
Mm-hmm.
Dine, Dine Well. And it's all about living that life that God intended for you to live, but it's relates to your mind, your body, and your spirit. So that your
Yes.
Christian walk, it has to do with your physical body. It is dealing with your mental attitudes, your emotions, your mindset.
Yes.
And when you think so much about the way that we think about things, oh my goodness, it
Mm-hmm.
is going to drive what we eat and also our relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
Our mindset really plays such a huge part on everything that we do, everything that we experience. The other
Absolutely.
part of the Dine Well workshop has to do with a vision board, but it's not just a vision board. This is a whole vision board experience. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
the vision board on steroids.
Yes.
It's very different from anything that you've done unless you've done the workshop with me before. If
Mm-hmm.
you haven't done anything like this before. So just kind of a little plug for that Stephanie is
Yes.
going to be speaking on that. That is January 22nd, not December. That'll be January 22nd. And she will be our guest speaker for that. So hopefully you will be able to attend. You will love it, love it, love it.
You will
And
love it.
it's really awesome. It is so much fun. So if you follow Stephanie or if you follow me or just anybody, kind of on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, you
Yeah.
will be seeing some information about that. So it is Dine Well,
Mm-hmm.
Dine, Dine Well, and you'll just be seeing a lot of information about that. So let's go ahead and go back to your book.
Okay.
Okay, if you would, I mean, first up, if you would hold up your book, just hold it really steady.
Sure.
The camera can see it. It is so cute. You will love it, love it, love it. Okay, that's it. It's time to come home. Okay, now hold it up a little bit. Is the subtitle on the bottom? Okay, they didn't put that on there. Okay, all right. So it's time to come home. It's a wonderful book. It's kind of on the interactive side, so you
Mm-hmm.
can put your own information in there. And it is a workbook, but it's not just
Mm-hmm.
a workbook that has a tiny bit of content and then you're supposed to just fill in all of this stuff. No, 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 no. This has some solid content in there that's really going to help you to think deeply about your own life. So, Stephanie, if you would just kind of I mean, I don't want you to do the whole thing, but just
I
kind of
gotcha.
touch on a few of the topics that are in there. Just kind of read through. I mean, we don't even need a lot of detail because I want them to get the book.
Right. So let's just talk about loving the skin you're in.
Mm,
Okay.
hmm.
And I think, again, we're talking about self acceptance.
Yeah.
We're talking about being okay with not having the shape or size nose or whatever it is that you have,
Mhm.
and it's okay with that. Just rocking and owning who you are and what God gave you. Okay. So
Mhm.
not everybody's interested in going and doing all type of modifications to themselves. And if you are, that's okay too. But we're talking about those individuals who are just like, okay, this nose is a lot larger than what I want, and I'm going to accept it, and I'm
Mhm.
going to contour it, and I'm going to, put a little makeup here and there if I need to, and I'm going to move on,
There you
you
go.
know? And that's what we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about things like managing negative chatter. So we're talking about, again, managing the thoughts that you have. And so this is not an external type of thing. This is internal. This is when you're waking up every day and you're, already proclaiming that you're going to have a hectic day and not speaking life and not speaking the positive thoughts that you should have, for today. That's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to also just talk about, again, how we're going to create the vision board to help manifest all of these things that we actually have the power with God's help to bring to our life. That's what we're going to do. And that's what it's all about.
Yes, yes. Okay, I want to go back a
Okay.
little bit to when
Mm-hmm.
you were talking about the negative chatter, the
Mm-hmm.
internal negative chatter.
Ooh, yes.
I mean, that is so huge because when you think about the external chatter,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you can walk away from that. You
Right.
don't have to listen to it 24 and 7. But the internal chatter, well, I live with me. So if all day
Right.
long I'm saying, I'm so stupid, I'm this, I can't do this,
Mm-hmm.
da.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
this all day
Mm-hmm.
long, good grief, I can't get away from me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So yeah, I mean, did you want to, expound on that any more? Because that is that's a big deal there. That's
I,
big.
I I think that for me, one way that or one strategy that I use to help me to move from that, those kind of thoughts and that self-loathing behavior, things like
Mm,
that,
mm,
is more so practicing self-care and just being honest about it,
mm,
and making sure that it's a priority. And so not letting it go too long. And actually, when you practice self-care and you're intentional and you are consistent with it, you would grow to love yourself. You
mm.
would grow, you will fall in love with you. And so once you fall in love with yourself, I think it helps to minimize the negative chatter. Again, it's something that some of us have to manage daily, and it's okay, because waking up in the morning and writing those positive affirmations and putting them on your mirror like I did when I was a single woman to help me move from here to the next season, and now being in another season, which is a married mother. But it's okay. But I think, again, just is really owning who you are, and knowing what it is that you need.
Absolutely. I am so with you. Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just thinking about in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had so much negative chatter in my own head. And I was constantly saying, I can't do this. I can't do this.
Right.
I can't do that. It didn't matter what it was. It could be something I just did 5 minutes ago. If somebody came
Right.
up to me and asked me, could I do it? Oh, no, I can't do that. Yeah, I know I just did, but no, I'm not smart enough. I can't do this. And,
Mhm.
and I remember, and I'm going to try to not be off topic too much, but I remember years ago, and well, I guess it was probably, I don't know, yeah, decades ago at this point, when I had my first speaking engagement. I mean, the first time
Mhm.
I ever spoke publicly. At that point, I had not done any training or anything. I mean, now I'm a certified public speaker coach. Okay. So
Mhm.
yeah, I've done the training and all of that, but I had not at that point. And I remember this woman came up to me and she asked me if I would speak for her women's group. Now, mind you, it was a small group, and we're talking, maybe 15 people, something like that. And it was going to meet at her house. So we're still talking something that's small, it's informal. They're not expecting this amazing thing to be happening. And my
Right.
brilliant response to her was, what? Me? Why would you want me to speak? No, no, I can't do that.
Mhm.
No, no, oh, no, 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 no. I'm gonna let you think about that because I'm sure you didn't really mean to ask me, and I'm just
Mhm.
going on and on and on and on about why she should not have me to speak. And
Wow.
she just stood there looking at me like, what? Like, who said that?
Right.
That was my thinking back then. I
Mhm.
can't do it. It didn't matter what it was. I mean, I could be like close to the worst speaker in the whole wide world for something that simple. You're going to go to her house,
Mhm.
talk to the ladies about anything. She didn't
Right.
even have a topic. She's like, whatever you want to talk about. How hard can it be? But
Mhm.
no, I was shaking in my boots. Oh no, I can't do that.
Mhm.
I can't do that. I'd
Mhm.
never done it
Mhm.
before. So how did I know I couldn't do it? Yeah, I could.
Right. Right.
I went, it was fine.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, it came out just fine. But it was just all of that negative chatter that was in my head, like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
and even now, every now and then, I still battle that thing. And then I have to remind
Yes.
myself, Dell, get a grip. Yeah, you can do this.
Right. Right.
you know but so I mean that that kind of goes back to what we were talking about, that you don't completely get over it. You might win that
Right.
war, but those little battles
Mhm.
still keep popping up. So even
Right.
now, sometimes I still go through that, and I have to kind of like, come on now, just let's just stop
Mhm.
that foolishness.
Right.
Having just that foundation of the word of God. Oh my goodness, that has been
Yes.
life changing.
Yes.
And that's another thing that I'm really going to talk about a lot at the Dying Well workshop. Just the impact that the word of God has had on my thinking. I mean, oh my goodness, like you're talking about
Yes.
turnaround. Like,
Yes.
whoa, huge turnaround. Um,
Yes.
but anywho, I don't want to focus on that too much because I really want to stay on the book, because your book is
Mhm.
so awesome. I am so proud of you. Like, yes.
But thank you. And I really appreciate you for pushing me, because now you want to talk about transparency. So share, talk being vulnerable. Well, hey, I didn't believe that I could do this. And just for me to, be able to manage again that negative chatter and
Mm,
those thoughts that would
mm,
come up, to
mm,
say, why don't you just give up? Just be done. Nobody will know that you didn't complete whatever, and
mm,
just move on, because you're not really a writer. So
mm,
for me to have a completed project that I can use to minister to other women and minister to the world,
mm.
I'm just grateful again for God allowing our paths to
Yeah.
cross, and for us to, just work on this project together, and for you to push me into destiny. So I thank you so much again just for that. So we need you. We need you. Your worth and your value. You know, we talked about in the beginning
Mm.
about how society will put, value and worth on you. But I'm telling you, hey, if even if your value is here, for me, because again, I've had the opportunity to work with you. So I'm just grateful.
Oh my goodness. The pleasure has been mine. It has truly been mine. I mean, I love what I do. I was having a ball through the whole thing. Like, oh, this is so great.
Just a
um, it was great. It was just a wonderful, wonderful experience all the way around.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, okay. So I'm going to turn the corner a little bit and I
Mhm.
want you to talk about what the special thing that you have for our listeners for today. So, what are you going to do for
Sure.
them?
So I want to bless one of our listeners with an actual journal. So
Mhm.
you can call it a book, you can call it a workbook, you can call it whatever you want, a tool, a journal. But I want to bless one of our listeners today with my work.
Mhm.
It blessed me just kind of walking and writing it.
Mhm.
So I want to be able to bless someone else. That's what I want to do today.
That's
And
good.
I think we'll do it through Facebook. I think maybe the best social platforms to do it. And if they could actually use a hashtag to let
Mhm.
us know that they actually listen to this recording and
Okay.
that they're engaged with us and that they are really intentional about moving holistically to the next season of their life,
Mhm.
I'll come with something.
Okay. All right. Now, which hashtag do you want them to use?
I
Or have
think
you
we're going
decided?
to go with hashtag at home. I
Okay.
think hashtag at home.
Okay.
It's the holidays, we're coming into a new year. So let's just do hashtag at home.
All right. So you heard it. Hashtag at home. So
Hashtag
when you're
at
going to start,
home.
yeah. So under the video, um, go ahead and put in hashtag at home. And now,
Hmm.
do you want them to just put their name in there? You want them to maybe what's their holiday tip or something? Or do you want them to do anything or just put their name in there?
I want them to put their name in, and I also want them to maybe just give us just a little small line or just a peep in with them as far as what their favorite holiday. So just Thanksgiving or Christmas. It could be any holiday, and then why. And we
Hmm,
don't want a paragraph. We don't want a whole story.
I
We just
know.
want to know why. We just want to know why did you? Because I can tell you, for me, my favorite holiday is Valentine's Day, and I know people are like, I've worked with people, and they're like Valentine's Day of all. I said yes, and I'm a hopeless romantic, and then I also love the color red, and I love chocolate. So why not have Valentine's Day?
Good
So again,
combo.
I would like to know. Right, I get everything at one time. So I would love to know what their favorite holiday is and why under the
Okay.
hash.
Super. All righty. Okay, so there's going to be hashtag at home, and then they're
Hmm.
going to, well, the name is going to show up anyway. So it's
Right.
hashtag at home, and then what is your favorite holiday? Okay, yeah. And
Yes.
if you've got a holiday
Yes.
tip, throw that in there too. And
Yes.
why it's your favorite holiday, but do not write a book. I'm just saying.
Right.
We don't want to hear your whole life story. We love you, but not that. So no.
But you can connect with Dale if you're wanting to write a book, okay? So
Okay,
let's
yeah,
just talk
I'll take
about
care
that.
of
Yeah.
that.
Connect with her that way, but not on the post. No.
Okay. All right. So we have covered some good information here, and I know people have been blessed by it. And just as a reminder, on January 22nd, you're going to hear much more from Stephanie. She's going to be able to just do a deep dive into more things regarding being at home with yourself and the whole self acceptance and yeah. those things that we
Yes.
really need, the self-care and all of that. So she's going to be sharing more about that. You will be seeing the post about Dine Well. So if you
Yes.
have, let's see now. So Stephanie, do you have any closing thoughts that you want to leave with our listeners?
Sure. So I would start with get the book.
Yep.
Number one. Okay.
Yes,
Get the book, get the journal. Okay. And then I also would highly encourage you to join us, with Dine Well.
mm,
Not just because this is something that we're doing
mm,
to just say we're doing something virtually,
mm.
but I think it's something that will minister to your spirit,
Oh,
something that will help you because you're going to have some takeaways.
mm,
So you
yeah.
know you can attend an event and just be in the moment, but not only will you be in the moment, will you really have an experience, but you will have a takeaway. You would have
Mm,
something that you can look at and that you can hold yourself accountable with. You will have an accountability tool. So that during these times. So buy the book,
mm,
join us for Dine Well,
mm.
and bless you. God bless you. I hope that 2021 would be a productive and successful and healthy year for you.
Yes, absolutely. Now, how can they get in touch with you?
So I have a couple of ways, but if they would reach out to me via Facebook or Instagram,
Mhm,
Facebook is just Stephanie Ball Williams
mhm.
for Facebook, and then Instagram it is Stephanie Will Inspire. Or yeah, so that those are the best ways to really get in touch with me. I'm not really a Twitter person. Don't do TikTok or anything else. So those would probably be the best two platforms. I also have an email and I have a website. But if we can connect on social media, then
Okay.
I can also send that information to you on how to connect other ways. So
Okay.
Facebook would probably be my preference.
All right. So tell us again the name for Facebook.
Stephanie Ball Williams.
Okay, that one's
Mhm.
Facebook. Okay. All righty. That's good. Okay, so the only thing I want to say is thank you, Stephanie, for the privilege of allowing me to just have this conversation with you. It's been great. And I
Thank you.
know you have so much more information to give. I mean, we've had a number of conversations, and after each conversation, we're saying like, "Oh man, we should have recorded that. It was so good," because I mean, you just have
Yes.
so much insight into the self care and accepting yourself and being able to come home. And that coming home is accepting yourself. Not just that physical place, but really being able to accept yourself. You have so much insight into that, and I'm thrilled,
Thank you.
privileged to have met you. And I mean, I truly thank God for the connection and the collaboration that we have been able to have in this pretty short amount of time, because we really haven't known each other that long. And wow, God has done some things and
Mhm.
he's just pretty much put it on steroids.
God is amazing.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And the pleasure has been mine.
Yes. Thank you. All right. So this is Dell and Stephanie. So again, I'm Dell, your communication expert in the areas of public speaking, authorship, and personal branding. You can reach me at speakthroughme.com. That's through already spelled out, speakthroughme.com. And we will see you later. All righty. Thanks for stopping by.
Goodbye.